Feels a little cringy, but then at the other hand, I'm always hoping that someone does tune in for the first time, and then for those guys, maybe it's good. I don't know. All right, hello there, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Smurfing.
And I'm Hera.
And this is episode 39 of the Town Center, your podcast dedicated to all things Age of Empires. In today's show, it's just been a couple of hours since the Thalassocracy 2 has come to an end, and you could even claim that this time around we got a surprising winner. We'll discuss the results and especially the water balance rework, and of course, spoilers will follow. By the way, Hera, I have a hot question right from the beginning here. Do I actually need to warn my viewers about spoilers when we're talking about a podcast explicitly dedicated to the competitive scene?
I would always do it because people are super anal about the spoilers. Like, for those who don't like to get spoiled, it's like the worst thing in the world, which I don't understand because
Me neither.
I usually spoil myself and then decide if I'm going to watch the set based on the results.
Dude, you're me. You're just talking. You're inside my head and you're reading my thoughts. That's exactly me.
I mean, I can see both ways. Like, for me, I just don't care about spoilers, but I can understand how someone's like setting aside 2 hours. He's got like the snacks ready. He really wants to just like lock in and just enjoy the show. So from that perspective, it's fair enough. But yeah, I'm not like a spoiler guy.
Yeah, but I'm right like you. I actually want to know the results to know if it's worth it. If it's like a final of something. If it's like 4-0, for example, then I know I don't have to watch it. It's kind of like that. Okay, so then we're not done. We're also going to look ahead to King of the Desert 6 and discuss what to expect from the tournament, which starts today as we're recording this. And we'll also check in on the Titans League, which has released their brackets for 2026. If you enjoy our show, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you prefer to listen to us on Spotify, make sure to rate us 5 stars. All right, Hera, and before we get going with the Thalassocracy 2, I want to be very upfront with our viewers here, okay? Because I feel like some people are probably going to tune into this podcast expecting us to talk about some of the rumors that have been circulating around. We've seen those things, we've seen the screenshots, we've seen the Discord group chats, but we've decided we're not going to comment on it. This is serious business, contracts are involved, people are involved, and so we just decided not to talk about it. If at some point something does become official, you'll hear the freshest and the hottest takes and the smartest takes on this podcast. For the time being, we're not going to do any of that, and I hope you guys understand.
Smartest takes from Masmura, of course.
Okay, always from me. Always the smartest takes from Masmura, for sure. All right, bro, listen up. It finally happened for you. The curse has been broken, and after over 3 years, Hera has won an A-tier tournament, the Thalassocracy 2. Last time you managed to do so was in 2022 when you won the Land-Only Cup. I think that's what it was called. And you took home, actually, you know how much money you took home from that tournament?
No.
$750.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, this time around, you walk home with $6,000, which I think very much shows where we are as a community. Even though we're talking about 2022, I think so that the difference is that big is kind of crazy. I feel like,
Yeah, and both 8 years, right? So both like a similar caliber event, and one of them is just like 5-6 times the prize pool, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's a little bit questionable. We've talked about that this tournament was actually only an A tier when you have all these players participating in the $25,000 prize pool. But, rules are rules. And I think at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I don't think it actually matters. It's just a name. It's just a label.
I think it matters from the outside perspective, like when you're like either looking back over the history or if you're like an outsider looking in, because there has to be some kind of criteria. But like, I think the people that are in the community that know like the names and whatnot, you can kind of judge the level of a tournament based on like the settings and the names that sign up pretty much and like the prize pool and whatnot. So from that sense, it doesn't really matter too much. I think everyone could agree this was like a very competitive tournament. Maybe the only thing questionable is the fact that it was on a new water balance, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yes, we will talk about the new water balance. By the way, I don't know if you saw it. Someone posted it today. I think with this victory, you're now officially the player who earned the most in prize pools from Age of Empires 2. You've just slightly surpassed Viper. Did you see that? Kind of crazy.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, a bunch of firsts have been broken in this tournament, so it's going to be a historical tournament for you.
Well, I'm happy about that, I guess. It feels good.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, but it's just another statistic. It's like, Ronaldo. I'm a fan of Ronaldo, of course, and sometimes it feels like he's looking for stuff to be the first. Even if it's something completely ridiculous, like, I don't know, the most assists in I don't know, in a home away game or whatever. he looks for things that don't really matter, but just to make sure he's the first on those things.
My favorite thing about Ronaldo is when someone mentioned, it was on a podcast or something, that he was the first person to score 1,000 goals, and then he said on camera, kind of a jab to Pele, who said
Pele,
he scored 1,000.
who scored a lot that nobody has seen. Yeah. That's so funny. So
Ronaldo's like super about like the stats and like the, how his image is looking. Can't say I care that much. But I mean, I guess it is nice. For me, I just want to do the best that I can in this like short time that I have, where I'm like at my peak and whatnot. So if I break records, I break records. If not, I just want to do the best that I can. I'm more than happy with that.
Hey, listen, that could have been from Ronaldo, man. You hear him all the time whenever he breaks a record. It's only about the team, it's nice when I break a record, of course, but I'm only doing it. It's only because of my team and whatever. You're learning from him, bro.
Of course.
Hart came in second after a fantastic run in the tournament and looking very well prepared. Viper also had a very good tournament performance, only losing the semifinals to Hera. Then you had Tato, who lost to Viper in the quarterfinals, and then Doubt lost to Hera in the round of 16. So it was a pretty unlucky bracket for the Gamer Legion boys.
We're just taking each other out.
Yeah, you guys sort of had to knock each other out, but that's the way it is. Okay, Hera, we'll definitely get into the specifics of the water balances.
Wait. Hold on. Sorry. We didn't talk about something. Doubt got 4-0, then a best of 5. Can we talk about that one real quick?
But true. True.
I have to mention that one.
Only Doubt can lose 4-0 in the best of 5. Well, now viewers are going to be confused if they actually didn't see the game. So can you explain what happened?
Yeah, so basically we were like playing. It was 2-0 for me. Third game, I was winning. It was like pretty clear victory, but there was a mistake and a glitch in his tech tree. He expected to have fast fire ships. He didn't, so it kind of threw off his game plan. My honest opinion is that's enough to to go for like a restart or like some kind of like fix up, because it's not his fault. It was a glitch. So anyway, we ended up playing another game, another map, and I won that one as well. So it's 3-0 plus the one where he was losing. We rounded it to 4, and I don't know. I wouldn't mention it, but it's just Doubt, so we have to mention it. That got 4.
You wouldn't mention it. Was it clear cut that it was you winning and the game was kind of over, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it was over, but like again, it was glitched, so it was a fair like a restart, or like fair to like try something else from the admin. So it was well handled.
Well, you could claim, how can it be that you actually show up to a tournament game and don't even know the tech tree of the civ that you chose to play? But
no, it's not Doubt's fault. Like the tech tree showed one thing, and then the reality of the game was another thing.
But ideally you play it before, right? And you realize,
no, it's impossible. We have no time. Like, it's a new patch. There's 50 civs.
True.
Forget about it. Yeah. There's no chance.
Okay, it's the new patch, the brand new patch.
Trust me, I'll blame Doubt for anything, but that one, like 100% not Doubt's fault.
This time does not work.
Yeah. This is like Doubt's clean. Doubt was clean there.
Not his fault this time around. Yeah. All right. So I was just about to say that we'll get to the specifics of the water balance for sure in just a minute. But before we get to that, just general feelings from you towards the tournament. Yet another victory, which by the way you predicted would not happen. Turns out you were wrong about that. So just talk a little bit about the tournament in general.
I do want to comment on that. Like, a lot of people think I'm like fake humbling when I'm like saying, "Oh, Hera's obviously gonna win." But my perspective, like honestly, like genuinely, last time with this podcast, it was a new balance. I hadn't even looked into it. I had no idea what to expect, and I was behind because I did some vacationing after the China tournament. Mm-hmm. So I'm like super surprised I was able to take this one home. I think like I didn't even practice that much. I think what happened though on my end, and I'll talk more generally, is that I just had like really efficient practice. I played like 5 games. And in the 5 games, I like everything came up. It was so surprising. Like I was able to like understand what I have to do, and like it wasn't that complicated because one unit, the Hulk, was like way stronger than the rest. So it like the practice was very efficient. I was able to kind of figure out what's good very quickly, which almost never happens. So I was very pleased by that. But yeah, definitely didn't think I would win this one. Obviously happy that I was able to take it home in the end. But I do want to say I think in like general perspective, I think the tournament was decent. Not one of the more exciting ones I've played though. But I'm not sure that's because of the new water balance. I think that's mainly just because water maps in general, and this is a bit subjective, but you can kind of make it a little bit objective as well. It doesn't excite me. That's the subjective part. Like I don't find water exciting. But then the objective part is the strategy and the strategic diversity on water maps is objectively way less than that on land.
You're missing like 70% of the techs, unique technologies most of the time, and all of that. Yeah,
exactly. Like objectively, transporting units to the other side, very clunky and very difficult to do. So it becomes one-dimensionally water play. That's old balance. That's new balance, right? So like something that I've always talked about is water maps will always be and will always feel less than land maps when it comes to AV2, And the only times this kind of breaks is when you have direct connection on land to your opponent, either through crossings or through land masses that make it more of a hybrid map rather than a pure water map.
Then you're talking about a hybrid map, right?
Which
totally.
are nice. Yeah. So not one of the more exciting tournaments based on the fact that it was water mainly, but it wasn't the worst experience. Still had some fun moments and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree. From a viewer's perspective, I found this tournament very hard to follow. I wanted to force myself. I found myself thinking about Age of Empires 4, where in those initial months, I really wanted to like the game. It's a brand new game, a lot of investment, but I just couldn't do it. I just don't like it. And a little bit the same feeling towards this tournament. By the way, I thought the host, that's AEIOU Swallow, that's his nickname, I thought he did a great job. Very completely run. Felt to me like he ran a very tight ship. Things were on time. Information was on time. I didn't see any major drama. Well, at least nothing transpired to the public. I don't know if you've experienced something behind the scenes or something like that. No,
nothing happened. It was actually very smooth. He listened to feedback beautifully beforehand. There was some issue with the seating. It got sorted out. And I think he was, there's no issues, which is rare. So
it felt to me like he was very quick to show an iron fist towards the players when they started complaining about something, which I think sometimes you have to do because, you give players a hand, they want to take the whole arm kind of thing. And I saw some people complaining about shorefish or whatever, and he was like, it's the way it's going to be, or one of his administrators, I don't know, this is the way it's going to be, sorry, discussion over. And I guess you probably as a player don't really like that much all the time, but sometimes I feel like something like this is necessary. Otherwise you're going to have the kind of situation you remember. What was the tournament with Jammin? You remember that tournament?
Town Center Tango.
So you end up having something like that, I feel like sometimes.
I think I think that was a different situation, but anyway, I don't want to talk about that too much.
It was different. We don't need to rehash the whole thing.
Fair. I think a nice balance is definitely to be struck, but I think in general the players in AV2 are quite reasonable. So I think just a clear, open dialogue is the best way to go. But I think he did a fantastic job. I also want to talk about real quick Hart's run. I think that's something that he didn't really get enough credit for that. I think him going to the finals is such a big jump. And not just getting to the finals, but he took out Leary. Who else did he take out in the quarters? He took out freaking Andy, which beat EO. So he did a really nice run to get to the finals, in my opinion. And it's kind of a breakthrough run for him.
I have here the list of his results for 2025, and it's pretty impressive. So he made it to top 8 in every single S tier tournament this year. He was 5th, 8th in TTL 4, 7th, 8th in the Garrison, 5th, 8th in Warlords 4, 8th Ling 1 Cup. And you listen to this, you don't think that's that massive of a deal, 8th, but he made it to every single S tier tournament and top 8 in every single S tier tournament. I think that's amazing, and not a lot of people are able to do this, right? And then, of course, 2nd Thalassocracy Cup. I've been watching his streams many times. I like a lot of his streams, and he's very different from you, for example. The other day, he was just complaining nonstop about the Arabia generation. Such a stupid map with all this hill in the middle. Then someone was complaining that it was crying too much. And Hart was like, I don't remember asking you to stay here, bro. Why are you still here? I feel like if it was you were trying to be a little bit more diplomatic about it and, be a little bit more understanding.
About that, my advice to Hart would be he's right about most things he complains about, but no one wants to watch a stream where the guy's complaining a lot. I think if you want to complain about something, make a video. Make a video, 20 minutes. Hash out whatever you want to hash out.
More
leave
content.
It out there. But on a live stream, imagine you come back from work, let's just throw up some Heart, some nice Age of Empires, relax, and then the guy's just complaining 24/7. So that being said, I think he's right on a lot of his complaints. He has, generally speaking, good takes. But you just can't be complaining on live stream 24/7.
Don't complain too much about it.
Make a video. Leave it.
Make a video.
Get more views.
I love the idea. Hera, in the series against Viper, you did go for Hindustanis. Oh no, Matt. You madman.
I was so mad I lost.
Oh, I'm sure you're mad. You lost the map. I'm pretty sure some viewers are going to be puzzled about that. So could you explain why you chose to go for Hindustanis? Oh no, Matt.
So that was so funny. So basically what happened is I reacted to a guy's video. It's a kind of a new guy actually on YouTube, but a very well-made video talking about my weakness as a player. And it turns out, statistically speaking, Nomad plus Hindustanis, my worst civ, worst map, put them together, that's my worst setting. So naturally, challenge accepted. I'm going to make a video about it, actually. I'm going to review it, but challenge accepted. I picked Hindustani Nomad in a tournament. I wanted to kind of like prove the haters wrong, prove the haters right. It happens. Stats are a reason. But in my mind, I was like, yo, it's a good counter to Spanish. It's not a bad civ. I had a good game plan of like booming heavy and then countering conks with monks. Like that was my game plan. Like I let him get the castle. It was part of the plan. And then it just kind of slipped from my hands. I have to say credit to Viper. His pressure was relentless. And I wasn't able to make it work. Another loss for Hindustanis and Nomad. But I'm happy I went for it. No regrets. I think it was fun.
You know what we need? We need another, what was Dave's tournament again? The Wandering Warriors Cup? That's probably the way to break your S-tier streak, maybe. But Dave said he's not going to do it anymore. He was a bit disappointed with the last time, I think.
Good news for me, I guess.
I guess good news for you. Yeah.
Fair enough.
There were a lot of surprising results in this tournament. You had ACCM eliminated in the round of 32, Mr. Yo eliminated in the round of 16, MBL eliminated in the round of 32 too. Actually, funny enough, I saw MBL. I think it was the first team after he was eliminated. He was like, well, I was expecting people to comment on me being eliminated in the round of 32. I was like, nobody gave a fuck. Nobody talked about it. I think it's a function, again, of the tournament not being the most popular in the terms of settings, but I thought the way he said it was just so funny.
That's hilarious. When you get knocked out, you're checking Reddit, like, I'm going to get roasted. No one cares. That's even worse. Like,
nobody cared about it.
Me. I'll send him some flame on email or something. I'll send him something.
Yeah, don't disappoint him. If he was expecting it, you need to give it to him, bro. I guess this is a result of a new balance. Again, people probably didn't practice all that much, right? Would be my explanation for these kinds of results.
I would say, like, okay, two things, like single elimination, like you're just bound to have upsets, new balance, and it's not even that people didn't practice that much. I think it's just impossible to practice enough to the point where you just know what's happening. And also, I think the way the balance was, and we'll talk about this a bit later on, of course, but it was very snowbally. Like, it's the point where, like, if you start losing a fight, like, okay, I'm better than Mihai, right? But Mihai has 5 extra ships. He's winning the fight every time. You know what I mean? So, like, it got to the point where, like, if your opponent, even if he's a weaker player, gets a small advantage, he's able to snowball that so efficiently because the water ships are so strong once you get all those upgrades on it. And there's not the demo factor of, like, demoing the opponent's ships. Demos are very weak.
Not there anymore.
Yeah, very hard to, like, come back into the game when you start losing on water, which is why we saw so many comebacks of just, like, big names dropping out early because the slightly lesser names, not even bad players, just slightly lesser, would start getting some advantage and they close out the game. And it's very hard to be consistent on the setting, in my opinion.
Okay, let's feel free to go into the specifics of the whole thing. It seems to, like, again, people who are not really familiar with what the changes are, they can listen to our last podcast or check the blog posts from the devs. But seems like the biggest culprit here is the Hulk. You can talk more about that, but seems like, and Hart was talking about the stand ground patrol with the Hulks specifically being broken. And again, stand ground patrol is pretty much what it sounds like. You put units on stand ground and you patrol them, and they stack up together and they attack. So yeah, your thoughts on the Hulk? What needs to be changed? Does something need to be changed?
Yeah. So the main culprit is the Hulk. That's true. I like the concept of the Hulk. I will say this firstly. I like the concept of a ship being upgraded through melee upgrades. Very interesting because that creates different civ balance. It's not just your Italians you have to look out for. You have to consider now the Khitans that get double melee upgrades. You have to consider the Magyars that get melee upgrades for free. Those civs that are not usually water civs can actually become water civs, which I absolutely love. I think that's very cool. I also like the fact that you're teching into galleys and then you have to tech switch into Hulks. You need to get a different set of upgrades. Again, very cool. A lot of strategic options there for the player. What I didn't like about the Hulks was just how powerful they were as a standalone unit. I like the idea of a rock, paper, scissors format on the water. I think that's cool. But then the Hulks, when you start massing them up, they're only broken because of the stand ground patrol. That's the only reason that they're broken. They have a few other things, like they move faster than galleys, but maybe that has to be the case, like because units
I think it does have to be the case, right? Because otherwise you'll never going to be able to catch up the galleys, right?
Yeah, exactly, which feels weird. You have to be faster than fire ships, of course, because you're supposed to counter them. So I think the movement speed I'm okay with. What I'm not okay with is how fast they kill land units. So like you just touch a villager and you're killing him in like 2 seconds. And then the stand ground patrol, when you have like 20 units stand ground patrolling in, the reason why you have to stand ground is because when you're on aggressive, they spread out. On stand ground, they stack into one tile. All right. And when units stack into one tile, they do mass damage to 1 or 2 units at the same time. So essentially, you touch a unit with stand ground patrol, the unit gets obliterated. 200 damage on one unit, he dies instantly. Rinse repeats, chase the army, one unit dies every few seconds, and you're just snowballing fights very easily. And that is what made the Hulks feel broken. And what we saw is that players just went pure Hulk on Hulk, and then whoever had more won. And the big problem with that is that you can't tell who has more because you're just stacking 25,
True.
30
so
units
hard.
on one tile, and it's impossible to tell who's winning. It's very unstrategic to like not know if you're going to win a fight or not. So yeah, I think that's like the good summary of why the Hulk is annoying.
Okay, so I remember, Hera, and you surely remember this too, during Red Bull, when you actually did the stand ground patrol trick with Paladins, I think it was, and then it became this whole drama. As always, everything becomes a drama these days.
It's not about what you do, it's about who does it.
Fair. But again, at some point there were rules that you're not supposed to do it with melee units. I believe that's the rule in the handbook right now.
There's something different though, because what I did was different. I did stand ground patrol, but on one tile, so they just patrol back and forth. This is just stand ground patrol, and you just send them in. So what's illegal now is you can't stand ground patrol on one tile. Again, I don't care if it's illegal or not. It's so irrelevant in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But the idea that it's stand ground patrol on one tile, so you just stack melee units on one tile, that's illegal. But sending them in and stacking in an aggressive way, that's legal.
Okay, but if you feel like that's the thing that's broken, do we need to ban that too? Or do we need to tweak the stats on the Hulk?
Like the players are talking about it. It's actually pretty split. All players agree that stacking and patrolling is horrible. Like it's bad for the game. It's annoying. It's bad. But what do you do? Do you not let people stand ground patrol? And then if someone does it by accident, they get a game loss? Because I keep my units on stand ground all the time. Like
me too.
Units should be on stand ground in certain cases. Like pro players would agree on that. I also stand ground engage and then switch to aggressive sometimes. It's a very high level form of moving your units that achieves something very intricate that other kinds of patrols don't achieve. And if I forget to switch them to aggressive, do I get a game loss because of that? And I'm using me as an example, but it could be anyone. Imagine game 8 of a finals, 4-4, and some guy mistake.
Game 9 in that case.
Yeah, game 9, sorry. Sent in his knights, and he's on stand ground patrol by accident.
Yeah,
do you give him a game loss in the finals?
Of course not, yeah. Of course not.
It's such a core part of the game that, in my opinion, it's like, I think you should just leave it, and the devs have to really work on getting us a solution.
Okay, so you feel like just tweaking the stats. The stats just need to be tweaked, less attack maybe, or less attack against specific armor class or whatever.
Yes, something in the case of a Hulk, you can like mess around with collisions or something to make them thicker or something about the Hulk can be changed. Maybe less attacks less frequently, something like that to kind of nerf the unit overall. But just preventing people from stand ground patrolling feels like such a band-aid fix, and I don't really like that at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is the Hulk. Is there something else about the water rebalance that bothers you, or something that you said you actually like the fact that we have a melee ship. Is there something else that bothers you that needs to be fixed?
Yeah, so I think I gave some feedback as well to the dev team. I think the biggest issues that I found was comeback mechanics on water, almost impossible. And there was this one game against Hart in the finals where I dragged it on. I was just desperate to try to get some kind of comeback. And I felt like I was doing well with the dungeons, but it was literally just impossible to get back and get a winning fight from a losing position. Granted, that game, maybe not the best example because I was very far behind.
Was it Khmer, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, Khmer. But I really can't think of many other games in the tournament where I saw a comeback of some guy losing the water and then coming back on water specifically and winning in a water map. I just don't remember it happening. And I think that's the part that I don't like about the new balance. And I'll give you an example. In the past, some guy's winning water with a lot of galleys, okay? You go fast imp, so he's got war galleys. You go fast imp and you go fast fire ships. The war galley player has no counter. Maybe a few demos can come in, but generally speaking, no counter. Today, though, he's got a lot of galleys. You go imp, you go fast fires to counter the galleys. He spams hulks. In Castle Age, he would just spam hulks, and the Castle Age hulks are enough to kill the fast fires. So you don't have a window where you can win back the water from a losing position with some kind of fast imp play. And that, I think, is the biggest issue that I have with the water balance currently. There's no comeback mechanic. Whoever's winning, because of the different mix of units that you have, he'll always have the superior comp with more units, and he's going to be killing your docks as they come up. And that, I think, is the single biggest issue with the new water balance.
Do you have a solution? Do we need to make demos great again?
I think demos have to be stronger for sure, because that gives you a chance to run in with heavy demo and really get a good fight against the Hulks and then let the fast fires do their thing. And I think it lets you salvage water before you lose it completely. I think that's the best angle. My suggestion that I give to the devs is you should make the demo cost a lot of gold, like it is now, but less wood. So for example, 80 gold, 20 wood. All right. Why? because as a comeback mechanic, you can put a lot of those on gold, spam demos, so you can potentially save yourself, save the situation, but you're burning through your gold. Gives
A
you a
bit like
weaker late
monks,
game.
maybe a little bit like monks potentially.
Similar to that, where you can kind of come back with some good conversion, you come back with some nice demo hits, but your late game is compromised because you sunk a lot of gold.
Yeah.
And if you spend a lot of gold and don't get the value, then your unit is useless, kind of like the monk. I like that concept a lot. I think it's worth testing.
Interesting. Thoughts on the dragon ships? Are they too strong? That's the Chinese unique unit. That's the upgrade for a fire ship.
Everyone told me they're like OP. I've never seen them. I don't even know what they do. Like,
okay.
I know it's a fire ship, but I don't know how strong it is. I've never seen it.
They felt very strong.
Tournament.
Okay, and I think there were a couple of people who did try sort of especially on that Aquarina map or whatever the name is. A couple of folks tried to go for like a fast Imperial-ish thing, whether then go for fire ships right away. Dragon ships, that's what they're called. Okay, so don't have a whole lot of experience. Okay, so do you see potential for this, though? Would you still advise the devs to keep this patch or keep this direction as opposed to what we had before, especially when you think now about a tournament with hybrid maps, which are very common in our scene, right? So pure water maps are really not very common anymore, I feel like, but hybrid maps are. And with that in mind, is this patch the right direction that just needs a few tweaks here and there, or throw it in the trash can?
It's an excellent question, and this is a question like I'm not sure I have like a good excellent. The smartest takes from this more once again.
I'm not even sure people heard that.
Of course, yeah. Louder for the people in the back. Like, I'm not really sure I 100% have the answer to this. Like from a personal opinion, I can see like some good takes on both sides, I would say, but practically speaking, we're not going back, in my opinion, because the devs, when they do work on something, they never throw it out. It's impossible. And I think it's because Microsoft has to justify the work.
Yeah, like, it's too much, for sure.
You're investing hours and hours of paid salary.
Dev time is not cheap, yeah.
This shit's going through regardless. So with that in mind, it's going to go through for sure. Is it good or bad for the game? I think it has more potential to be good. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
The doc beforehand, the 2-page doc, super confusing for new players. Like I saw T90 always, telling the devs, hey, like I get people, he does a lot of like new player stuff. I see new players that just don't know there's an upgrade. And that's a huge issue. They don't know there's a second page even, right? And it's also very clunky, even for pro players, to have to go to the next page to click something like that. It's very clunky to have a 2-page doc, all right? It's also very weird, like how galleys just dominated their counter in the previous balance. Like on open land maps, the galleys would always beat fire ships. There's no answer to galleys on
there's
open
enough
water maps.
Space to maneuver, right?
Exactly. So there was some kind of interesting like ideas, like if it's small ponds, fire ships dominate. I'm also not a big fan of the fire ship demo play. I think that's kind of boring, of like fighting then repairing. I think that's kind of boring as well. So old water, I don't think is very good. So even though the new water kind of has like a sword toe right now, like a big red toe, which is the Hulk that's kind of blocking you from thinking about other stuff, I think despite that, it still has more potential to be more interesting and more strategically diverse in the future.
Okay.
But it needs quite a bit of tweaking, in my opinion.
That's good to hear. But I think the takeaway for me is what you said at the very beginning. Water is never going to be as engaging and as fun to play, as fun to watch as land. It's just, it misses the complexity. I mean, you could argue that you could try to make it as complex as land play, but then does it become too complex for new players or even for pros when you suddenly have, so many things to think about and maybe like a third unique tech or whatever that's especially for water? I just don't see that happening. It's just too much, right? You have a new game all of a sudden, so I don't see that coming.
Yeah, it's a tough balance to hit, but yeah, I think, I think where they're landed now with a 1-page doc is kind of where they want to be. Some extra text university, good strategic variants, but also not overwhelming to new players. And I will say, last thing on the water, but I love that every civ gets a cannon galleon. Before you have Aztecs or Mines, you can't play the game.
Yeah, that feels needed. Absolutely, I agree.
Mandatory. I think if they get a reskin for it for the Meso civs, I think that's would be a good sweet spot for the cannon galleon meta.
Speculation is that the next DLC will be about Mesoamerican or like Central American civs, and that could be the opportunity to do something like that. Okay, before we move on, as always, I'd like to report on the viewership metrics for this tournament. We had a peak of 10,600 viewers for the final of Thalassocracy 2. That's lower.
That's very low.
That's lower even than the Thalassocracy Cup 1 peak, which was 11,500. in general, despite the much bigger prize pool, right? In general, viewership this year has been pretty disappointing. But then again, you also have to think that 2024 was an amazing year, and after an amazing year, almost always comes a year that's not as good. So maybe that plays a role too. Anyway, I'm gonna have numbers for everybody at the end of 2025 whenever we record the last episode, which I'm not quite sure when that's gonna be. Okay, Hera, by the time you're listening to this, you and the viewers at home, of course, the next and last S-tier tournament of 2025 will have started, and that's King of the Desert 6, the classic 1v1 Arabia-only tournament organized by MEMB, which this time around comes with a $50,000 prize pool sponsored by Microsoft. Now, I am incredibly excited about this tournament, quite the opposite to the water tournament, because Arabia is my favorite map. I've been playing a lot of Age of Empires 3 in the mornings, and man, the game is so fun to me right now. I love the game. It's so fun, but I hate what it does to me here. I hate what this. I get so mad, you know.
Oh, you get angry?
I get so mad at the game, bro. I'm almost 40 years old. Okay, I'm gonna be 40 in like a month or whatever. I feel like I have a good life. You know, I have a wife that I love. I have 2 kids that I adore and that I would die for. Why the hell does a stupid computer game make me so mad? I don't understand.
Because your opponent's fully walled minute 12. Like, you're not thinking about the wife and kids and your opponent's walled and he's fast casting.
Yeah, what can you do, Rex? What can you do? You like to think that you're like a rational being and you don't let these things get to you. When you're in the middle of it. Anyway, very excited about it. What about you? Is Arabia, I'm sure at some point, especially someone who comes from Vubli, Arabia was your favorite map? Is that still the case?
I would say I don't even have a favorite map nowadays. I was talking about it in a video the other day, and I honestly I don't know what I like anymore. Like I just play whatever. Like we have this joke where I don't want to pick any home map. Like in the last term in the water map, in the Thalassocracy, I don't want to pick a home map because I hate them all. But if my opponent picks it, I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. But like, it's not good enough for a home map. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if we're talking just Arabia, it's okay. But
really?
I wouldn't say it's my favorite map.
Does that mean you're bored about the game? Because there should be something that excites you about the game, or like a map or a civ or something.
Yes, on some tournaments, there's new maps that I like, but like I wouldn't, because like Arabia, for example, in a tournament, I'm more excited about like the random civ bans and whatnot. Because Arabia played with the best civs, in my opinion, is like kind of boring. And the Arabia Gen, not to be like a hard to complain about it, but right now the Arabia Gen is like one of the worst it's ever been. KotD tried to like do some stuff with it, but in my opinion, they kind of still missed the mark on some things.
Oh, okay. Let's get to that because that's the next point on the agenda. Let's get to that. So yeah, as you said, usually KotD comes with a brand new version of Arabia, and so this is what this one has according to the admins. So forests spawn further away from players. Starting resources such as primary gold, bushes, and boars have a significant chance of also spawning further away than usual. Deer can now spawn in several different groups or even alone. Then there's an additional neutral gold, and the map can generate 5 to 7 relics. And there's no chicken. So chickens have been removed.
Oh, that's good, actually.
You like it. Okay, so Krazini then also writes at the end, so I was just quoting Krazini, the administrator who's made the map. Our aim is to create a balanced map that offers exciting gameplay that rewards exploration and aggression. So do you feel like these changes successfully achieve that or not necessarily?
I think that's good. It's a step in the right direction for sure, because like the latter Arabia at the moment is like really, really bad in terms of like the different Arabias we've had over the years. If you ask me if I like Arabia like 2 years ago, when I was doing my first road, I think maybe a year and a half ago, when I was doing my first road to 3K, the Arabia was so fun. It was so much fun to play. Like that one was my favorite map. But today, Arabia is my favorite map. Probably not. I think I like other maps more because of it's just not the best on ladder. However, going to the KotD Arabia, everything you just said sounds amazing. So like deer being in different places, forcing the players to adapt, making laming a potential strategy because you don't know how many deer you have. Very important.
And especially because the boars now spawn further away. Do you actually like that? So I used to be, full disclosure, for the longest time, I used to be a laming hater. I used to organize a lot of tournaments. I banned laming from my tournaments just because I thought he was dumb. Then at some point, I felt like the balance was right because they made the boars spawn a lot closer to the TCs, which makes laming a lot harder. It's still possible, but a lot harder. And to me, this is a step in the wrong direction, making them further away. But you actually seem to like it. So you think that's good that laming can happen.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like I think laming in modern day, so in the past it was broken because in the past the Arabias would be way worse. Like if you get lamed in your woodlands in China and the guy's like 2 pop fast and you're dead every single time, right? But nowadays, the maps are a lot more balanced. So I think the recovery from a lame is a lot easier. And I think if you don't have laming at all, so no one's stealing resources, then you're just having a deer pushing fiesta, which is super boring in my opinion. So I think there needs to be a balance with laming is strong, viable, but also risky. And then you can also lure deer in some cases. My ideal scenario for Arabia, the way I view Arabia, is I want to see the most amount of diversity when it comes to map gens. I want every game to feel different yet the same at the same time. So it's always Arabia, same feel, land map and whatnot, but I want there to be, sometimes you want a fast castle, you have a nice map. Sometimes you have to go all in feudal. Sometimes you have to tower rush because there's nothing else to be done. I need that kind of strategic variance for the map to feel fun over a Arabia-only tournament. And if Krazini and team are able to achieve that, I would consider that one of the best tournaments of all time. If they're able to achieve like the proper strategic variety that I envision for a proper Arabia. If, on the other hand, we see like one strategy that's almost always going like the meta, so like walling up and playing defensive and feudal, then it could actually be one of the worst tournaments ever, basically. So that's the way I see it.
Okay, so from what you said at the very beginning, feels to me like you fear like that latter option is probably more likely than the former one.
I think so, yeah. The woodlands are very thick, so I imagine players will play it safe and try to wall up and skip feudal age, which is, in my opinion, the most boring version of Arabia ever. When feudal age is skipped every time, it's a snooze fest, straight up. No way to sugarcoat it even. And I play like that. I'm not gonna lie. I like that. It's good for me, but it's just bad for the viewers if every game you're able to do that. So I hope that the new Arabia forces some kind of regression, especially in the feudal age. I really want to see different strategies be viable, and I want to see players have to adapt to their current map and not come in like, I want to do this, and it works every time. That would be disastrous, I would say.
Understand. Doesn't the fact that forests now spawn further away from the DC, doesn't that accomplish the fact that it's a lot harder to wall?
Yeah, it could. It could, for sure. Woodlands being thick is another factor, though, because if you have thick woodlands, then usually one lumber camp, and you can kind of like protect it with everything. Again, it depends. It's too early for me to say. I'm just kind of speculating and talking on both sides. The tournament will start soon, and we'll figure out what's going on.
Doesn't this kind of thing encourage more like drushes or early man-at-arm rushes to precisely try to stop your opponent from actually having full walls at minute 12, as you said before?
Yeah, so that's the idea behind men-at-arm rushes, and that's what they should achieve in theory. In practice, however, the guy who goes men-at-arms, if the opponent has a good map and is able to easily wall, he's very far behind. So if you're able to like small wall a little, get some archers or scouts and clear up men-at-arms, the guy who went men-at-arms is very far behind, generally speaking. So men-at-arms they got a huge buff, so they're a lot stronger than they used to be, but they still have that like major drawback where it's a big investment to go for them. So there is a world where if the maps are a bit more open, men-at-arms and drushes see a lot more play, and that's very healthy. But if the maps are like too easy to wall, then the men-at-arms just don't have time to do what they're supposed to do. So it's really just a balance, and it depends on what the map gens are looking like. And my opinion is there should be a lot of variety. Some games men-at-arms should be good, other games they shouldn't be.
Okay, so I am hoping, just because I think it's good for the tournament and it's good for the scene, it's good for the meta, I'm hoping to see a couple of phosphorus drafts at this tournament.
I think we're going to see some phosphor rushing. My opinion on phosphor rushing is that it's very easy to stop if you know it's coming. But if you don't know what's coming, it's actually one of the strongest strategies in the game with certain civilizations. Like, for example, Bengalis are incredibly strong. Bohemians, very strong, yeah. Portuguese, not strong.
Really?
I don't like the organ guns. Yeah, they got nerfed too much. They're not that strong. And then Foster would tell you more, but like for me, those two stand out.
I think Foster would disagree with the Portuguese, if I'm not mistaken. I think he would disagree with you. I think so. I think he still puts it in the S tier category. I think Romans is also one of the civs he thinks is good.
With like the siege workshops as well. Yeah,
with the scorpions, etc.
It's quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see him just because it would be hilarious to see someone lose to it. Okay, so the bracket is already out for the tournament, and for those interested, I'm going to put a link below in the description box. So this is going to be a 64-player single elimination. You have Hera and Dio on one side of the bracket, so that means they can only meet in the semifinals, and then you have Leary and Viper on the other side of the bracket. Then Doubt is on Hera's side and Tato on Viper's side, which means we can't have 4 GL players in the semifinals. How likely that would have been anyways, anyone's guess. My boy Lewis got the short end of the stick here, Hera. He will probably meet you in the round of 32, which is very sad because I was really hoping to see him succeed. But
So the way they did the draw is Mem randomized it completely with certain parameters. Like he
kind
split
of
up the
right.
top 16, I think, and then randomized the rest. Is that how it was done?
No, I think they like randomize the groups. So they have like groups of seating. You have like 1 and 2 is one group, then you have 3 and 4 another, then you have like 5 to 16. Or I don't know what the exact groups were, but within those groups, everything was random.
Yeah.
And that's something that Lewis actually complained about because he felt like, for example, in the bracket of 16 to 32, I'm just giving an example, there's a massive difference in skill between player 16 and player 32, and he feels like that's unfair. Would you agree?
Yeah, so I spoke with Lewis directly, and he's actually the most unlucky because he's seed 17, which is the strongest player of the group 17 to 32, and he got seeded against me in round of 32, assuming no upsets, which is the hardest thing. So seed 17 versus seed 1, it should be, or it could be, seed 32 versus seed 1. So he should be playing something like seed 16 if he's seed 17. If there was no random draw, he would be playing seed 16, which is the weakest of the top 16. Instead, he's getting the strongest of the top 16. Just to put it in perspective, he got the unluckiest draw possible. My opinion is I like the random draws. I think it's good. It brings different matchups. So I'm fine with that. Lewis got unlucky. Fair enough. I also got unlucky because I have a really hard round as well. My opinion is Lewis has the chance to shock the world. He can literally become one of the most famous AoE2 players if he's able to knock me out in round of 32. No one's going to forget that. So go for it. That's what I think. It's just setting. Best of 5 Arabia.
Single elimination. Yeah, that's how you would see it for sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, history proves otherwise. I don't think you're that easy to beat, unfortunately, but that's the way it is. Anyway, very excited for the tournament. You never know. Very excited for the tournament. Don't forget, it starts today by the time you're listening to this. I think actually by the time you're listening to this, I think we're going to post it tomorrow. The first matches are going to be happening in the day that this releases. So make sure to check, the regular streamers. Mem is the official organizer, so make sure to check him out for sure as well. So at this point, I'd quickly like to mention the Titans League here, Hera. The bronze division, which was sort of a qualification stage for both the gold and silver leagues, is now finished, and the final rosters of players is now set in stone. In the Platinum Division, which where most of our players will be playing, we had some pretty wild groups, especially Hera's group. So you have Yo, Hart, Vinchester, Lucho, and Siscon in your group. How does that even happen?
Dude, because Vinchester's supposed to suck. That's why. Because he just came up from Platinum. He came up from Gold last season. So like in the eyes of the seeding, Vinchester's a dog right now. But Vinchester's one of the best players in the world. So.
By the way, he just recently reached 3K as the second player in history ever, right? After you.
I was so proud of him.
You told me that the other day, right? And impressive. I don't think he ever streams, right? So people probably didn't even take notice of that. But very.
I'm not gonna lie. I think he beat like Lucho 35 times to get 3K. So it's a little suspicious. But I'm so proud that he actually like managed to get it. And I like that people give importance to Elo. I think that's super fun. So I love that.
Well, Lucho, he's been at the top of the ladder for a lot of time. Again, you can claim a lot of it is Arabia, of course, and not ladder is not tournaments, of course. But I don't think Lucho on Arabia is necessarily an easy opponent.
Oh, he's one of the best, but I think Vinchester just got his number. He like streaked against him or something. I don't know. Lewis was telling me. I didn't even look into it myself, but apparently Vinchester was getting the better of Lucho and just doing well there. But no, nonetheless, I love that he got 3K. I think that's really cool. Second in history, and I want to play him now, but I can't get a hold of him.
You can't meet him on the ladder. Well, because you're too low right now, right?
I'm low elo right now.
You're a bit too low right now.
I'm a dog. What can you do?
So then you have Tata will share a group with Barles, Leary, Lix, and Repard. And then in the words of the great Lewis, Viper got the Silver League group. Again, that's his words, not mine. So Viper is going to be the group with Vivi, Dragonstar, Sito, Mihai, and Dark. So there's definitely, again, you don't want to say any of these players is a bad player or anything like that, for sure. But yeah. Then you have Doubt, who'll be playing the Gold League, and this group will be Kapach, Fire, Sobek, Sorakuma, and Z40. So he managed to avoid Jordan, which again would be a little bit embarrassing for him if he were to lose to Jordan. Both the Platinum and Gold Leagues will start in late January, so there's still a bit of time. But one thing I'm curious about here, Hera, what do you feel about the fact that T90 has now chosen to completely ditch the Hidden Cup, and he's just going with the Titans League? I think this is good for the game. This is good for the community. How do you feel about that? We've talked about this before a little bit, but not with you.
Yeah, fair enough. I've heard T90 say a few things about it as well. I can see arguments on both sides, but I think the thing that T90 said the best that I think really captures why I think he made the correct decision is that if he just does another hidden cup, there's not enough of a shake up from the last one that it could end up just feeling like it's the same thing. Like, yeah, you have like, oh, it's hidden players, but it's the same players as last time. So it's going to create like a similar vibe for the players. Mm-hmm. A dream scenario for hidden cup is like in 1-2 years, people kind of forgot about it, missing it, really want one. And then bam, he brings it back and it's brand new players. You still got like 8 that you know and then 8 that you don't know. So then it's like really exciting again. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a really good decision on T90's end. Invest into TTL. It's a great tournament. He doubled the prize pool from last time, expanded it so more players get a piece of the pie, which is good for the scene. And then he can do a big thing and bring back bring back Hidden Cup in a couple of years' time when it's a bit more exciting. So obviously I miss Hidden Cup. It's a fun tournament, but the reality is that it's not that fun if it's predictable. So I think he made the right decision.
Yeah, I think I agree. And again, T90 would know best. When's the best timing to bring up the tournament again, for sure. Right? Now, speaking of T90, he recently made a video talking about Smurfs. The video has made great numbers, so I imagine a lot of our listeners saw it. But if you haven't, basically it was what we would expect. T90 says Smurfs are a big problem in our game, and Microsoft should do more to crack down on them. Now, in the wake of the video, Hera, one Reddit user has done great work in actually collecting some data and I really appreciate people doing this because I feel like if you want to have a discussion on how to fix a problem, you first need to know how big of a problem it actually is. What kind of magnitude is this problem we're talking about? So the name of the user is Tilbardaga, a nod to the Viking voice line, I'd assume. And according to him, if you play a ranked 1v1 game, you're likely to face a Smurf once every 25 games. This number sounds pretty low to me, I'll be honest. But again, I don't know how does it compare with other games and whether this is high or not. So how do you feel about this whole affair? How much of a problem is Smurfing really in our community?
Okay, so my opinion, I haven't watched the T90 video, but I actually made a similar video. It's not out yet, but talking about another problem that new players face. It's kind of in line with Smurfing, but it's the fact that you start at 1,000 elo, which most players are already really strong. And the reason I'm mentioning this now is because when you talk about Smurfing being an issue, personally, I don't think Smurfing is an issue for an individual basis. So like if you're an individual and you're going to go play rank ladder, I don't even think Smurfing is that big of a problem for you because 1 out of 25 you get Smurfed on, you'll know if you get Smurfed and you know it's an unfair game. But in my opinion, you just go next. It's not a big deal from an individual perspective. But I think as a community, it is a big deal because especially the Smurfs that are intentionally dropping their elo to play against weaker players, because sometimes it just takes one game to throw a player off playing. And if you're intentionally doing that to play against, like if you're intentionally lowering your elo, losing on purpose to play against weaker players and ruin their experience, just like stomp them, that's terrible. Like that definitely deserves to be punished. So from a community perspective, it definitely deserves to be punished. It's very bad. But from an individual perspective, I don't think that one game should discourage you. And I think that if you really want to play ranked, you would be able to push past that one loss pretty easily. I think the other problems regarding new player experience are way bigger than the Smurfing problem. Like, for example, 1,000 elo being way too strong for a new player. Like the coming into ranked, the level you're coming in versus the level of people that are there, very hard. Not being able to do lobbies against players, not being able to talk to players. All of that is way higher up on my list as far as like difficulties for new players than the Smurfing issue. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like my take on the situation.
I think I agree. I mean, of course, I'd like Smurfing to be 0, obviously, just to put the obvious out there. But again, this is a problem that's common in a lot of other games. And again, I'm willing to be educated otherwise. But to me, 1e25 does not sound like that much of a big deal. Now, of course, it's obviously worse if you're having a lot of these Smurfs like ruining games at like the 600 or 700 elo, where people are probably like borderline, do I quit this shit or do I give it another try? And then you meet Smurfs. Maybe in that case, it's a bit more pernicious, maybe. But going back to that 1,000 elo entrance point, you know what the argument against that would be, though, right? Is that
if you lower it, it's going to become 500 elos the new barrier. But
right. So what's your answer to that?
What chess.com does. When you start a new account, you tell the game, are you a beginner? Are you an intermediate or an advanced? If you're advanced, you go to 1,000 elo. Beginner goes to 500. Intermediate goes to 750. Only downside, the Smurf says I'm a new player, goes to 500.
Right.
So that's like the balance you have to strike. But I think that would create a better system for new player, despite Smurfing could potentially be even worse. However, I think smurfing at 500 elo is less exciting than smurfing at 1,000 anyways. So I think that system is way better than just throwing everyone in 1,000 and seeing what happens. Because the worst experience you can have as a new player is coming in, losing 20 straight. Like, bro, people are quitting after 5. No one's in the last 20 games until they find their real elo. So letting them come in at 500 elo, I think would be like at different stages would be really good for the game.
You know what my solution is? This is not my idea. I don't know if it's Spirit of the Lost idea or somebody else. You know what I like? How about you have to play like 3 games or whatever against the computer, against the AI, or maybe make it 5 games, and then based on your winning record, it places you at a certain elo.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good, actually.
Yeah.
That might be the best because.
Then you can't. I mean, again, you can lose on purpose. Again, it's still possible. It's still losing your time 5 games or whatever.
You're making it harder. Yeah, that's a drag. Kind of like in League of Legends, you have to level a new account. That's why there's so little Smurfs there. You have to level an account to 30. It takes forever. So just kind of creating a barrier. It could be interesting. Maybe you have to beat the AI in those 5 games. Because then you can't then it takes some time. Like you have to beat some level of the AI.
Yeah, I mean, different games have different solutions for this, right? You have some games with phone verification. You have games that ban family sharing. I think that should never be the case for Age of Empires 2, honestly. Unless you ban it for ranked only, or maybe only allow
but the idea is good, actually. Like, let them play against very easy. They beat it. They have to play against easy. Then if they beat it, until they lose. And if they lose, they get like
based on your record,
tries or something.
Again, you could still cheese it, but then you're wasting your time cheesing it. So that's the thing I like the most, honestly. But yeah, you never know.
I think that's interesting.
Okay, so last topic that we're going to touch on today, Hera, it's going to be maybe a little bit connected to the rumors that we've been hearing. Anyway, let's just assume, for the sake of discussion, that in 2026, we suddenly have a competitive scene where there are several teams that are competitive, and it's not clear anymore who's going to win team game tournaments. Do you feel like, I know this is a topic that's very dear to you, that you told me before that you actually wanted to talk about your plans for the revival of the team game scene in 2026. So do you feel like that would be enough of a situation, enough of a starting point to justify like a big team game tournament, which is something that we've been missing for a long time?
So I think the team game scene definitely needs to be revived. I have some plans starting 2026 to play a role in reviving that. And I think one of the worst things that happened to AoE2 in the last couple of years is how dead team games have been. And I think it's bad for a few reasons. A lot of the casual players, a lot of the players that play for fun, play team games. Team games are super cool.
Team game ladder is the most active ladder. Well, we only have 2 ladders. No, you have several ladders, but nobody cares about what is Empire Wars or whatever. But yeah, the team game ladder, I think right now has like 66,000 monthly players. The 1v1 is like 45. And I believe, I might be wrong here, somebody please correct me, but I believe that number for the team game ladder has been decreasing, unfortunately. I seem to remember it being like 75,000 or whatever. The 1v1 ladder, on the other hand, has stayed pretty much consistent, probably even increasing a little bit. So, but yeah, that goes towards your point that team game is more popular than 1v1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so team game ladder is, or team games in general, very popular for the average player. Whether you're playing for friends, whether you're trying to grind, whether you're trying to like compete, team games are just very fun. And I think that team game tournaments don't do as well viewership-wise as 1v1s because it's hard to follow and whatnot. And it takes a trained eye to like follow the team games. And on top of that, there seemed to have been less competition in team games. Because in 1v1s, you have a lot of individual names that can have their own storyline, where in team games, it's less likely to have like an upset when you have like, weaker teams facing a stronger team. However, that being said, the last few years have completely shaken things up. You have Onimaru that just came in. You have the Chinese team that have stood strong. Suomi kind of fell off, but could easily make that comeback. You have now GL that has like, a strong team. You have the former AM guys. You have so many, and that split up into like Team Wonders. You have like the Argentina guys, the Brazil guys. So many different teams that have come in the last couple of years that can really field a strong 3v3 lineup, for example. And I think that would be a super interesting format to bring back, which is 3v3 mixed maps, not just only Black Forest. Like, I know the Black Forest guys love it, but like, let's just be honest, 44 Rage Forest is never going to be something that mainstream everyone's in on it. Although it's very fun, I think it's just it kind of feels like it's
too chaotic.
It's actually
the problem is it's too chaotic. Yeah.
it's very like, there's a lot going on, so it's hard to make that mainstream. But I think 3v3 mixed maps can easily become something more or less mainstream for the scene. And one thing I'm hoping for is to bring back the streaming team games format. So for those who don't know, a few years ago, one of the most fun times for me personally was just hopping on, playing voice chat pro games, 3v3 mixed teams. Like you just come in and you play. If there's 4v4, you play the 4v4. Super cool. You're on voice with pro players. You're communicating. The viewers are watching. It was so exciting.
I
want
love
to
it.
bring that back.
I love that idea. I'm familiar with that sort of system from CS:GO, the old CS:GO, where there was like this third-party matchmaking service for CS:GO, and they had like an S-tier league queue or whatever. It's only for pro players, and they know that at a certain time everybody's going to be online, and so they go into a chat room or whatever, and they make teams like that. And I'd love something like that to be true for Age of Empires. Maybe not necessarily like a ranked queue only for pros, but you have a specific time where most people maybe can queue up and play some games. Everybody knows what the times are. So if they feel like playing a couple team games, they go online and then they just play 3v3 or whatever. Everybody who's on the team gets on voice chat. That would be so amazing. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, so that's the dream. I think we're far from that right now because like the team game scene amongst pros is pretty dead.
Mm-hmm.
The ladder is not doing the job. There's NC Zone, I think. I don't know if it's still running, that tried to do something. There's another Discord that tried to do something. Nothing really caught on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start with a different idea. I'm going to start via show match route. So like an established 3v3 show match, established teams. But I'm hoping that we can do something to where we revive it to make it some either monthly thing, weekly thing. We'll see. But I do have some ideas to kind of revive that, and I hope that I get traction from the players and from the viewers. But I do want to kind of play at least my role in pushing that, and hopefully, like it becomes a success if people jump on and also support the movement. But that's kind of my plans for the team game revival, and I think it's so long overdue. Like I would love to play those team games again. It's so much fun.
I see two problems. One you probably heard about, but the other one, from what I've understood from a lot of the streamers, the big streamers, the reason they don't play more team games, well, first of all, they're hard to set up, of course. And then it's like they don't get to interact as much with the chat. And a lot of the reason why some streamers are so popular, you for sure, 100%, is that you're always interacting with chat. You're playing and you're talking what you're doing. You're telling people what you're doing. You're making little jokes here and there. And that's what makes you so engaging. And other people like Viper, for example. And you couldn't be doing that. And so in essence, you're maybe putting out, I don't want to say an inferior product, but something that folks are not used to, because then you would only be talking with the folks on your team and not necessarily with chat. Would that be big of a problem, you think?
It definitely is an issue because, chat interaction is really nice. But I would say because you have some like comms with your team, I think that makes it actually interesting to follow for the viewers. What you're going to have is less chat activity. So not a lot of people talking in the chat. So it might seem a little bit like deader or a little bit more dead, but people should be really engaged if it's a high level competitive 3v3 with voice comms. That's another reason why I like 3v3. Like 4v4, in my opinion, a little too chaotic. 3v3 is the sweet spot. Like the pocket player plays a different role than the two flanks. It's easy to understand, easy to grasp. You still have like grouping up 3v3 plays. I think it's super cool. For me, that's the best format, and I hope that I hope that people will actually enjoy it.
Mm. I fear that's still too many players, unfortunately, 3v3. I think for me, 2v2. For me, it's 2v2. I mean, for me, it's 3v3. It's what I like the most. But I think for the viewers, maybe 2v2. And now the other problem here, and I think that's the main reason why team game tournaments have not been a thing anymore, is that experience tells us that a team game tournament appeals to fewer viewers. And that means that nobody is willing to organize, have all the trouble of organizing a tournament, getting Microsoft sponsorship. It takes a lot of work, a lot of paperwork. Nobody wants to have that kind of work for a tournament that will lead to decreased viewership, which doesn't feel nice as an organizer, of course. And then there's also the problem that it's just less money per player, because I don't think Microsoft's going to suddenly give more money for a tournament that's likely to have less viewership. How do you counter that problem?
Well, I already thought of that, of course. That is obviously the main problem. Always comes back to money. It is what it is. You have to get, players will not play if they're not getting paid. Like, let's just be honest, the player base, like, we're just older now, so people need to get paid. I can tell you what I plan to do, and I hope that it catches on. So I plan to fund the matches myself. That's why we're doing show matches and not tournaments. Tournaments are way too much one shot. Show matches are slowly, so I can fund it through my stream and potentially external sponsors. But I'm planning to do $1,000+ per show match.
Wow.
And we're planning to have at least one per month, but I want to do more than one per month. And I'm hoping that if we're starting to put out some $1,000 show matches, that maybe other teams can jump in and start hosting their own. So now we have more than once per month.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to do a system where if it's really popular and if I get more viewers on my stream when I'm doing something like this, I can increase the prize pool because I'm getting money through ads, donations, subscribers, because I'm streaming it. So because I'm able to monetize it, I can then put more money into the pot for the players that want to play. And that's how you organically grow something over the course of a few months. So I'm going to put in the initial investment and hopefully get enough out of it to where we're able to propel it further and make it bigger and better than just a one guy's startup. That's kind of what I see. But I have the initial problem solved. We're going to start with big prize pools, very competitive teams, and go from there.
All right, bro, that sounds awesome. And you know what I like about that too is that you're, by virtue of the fact they're actually doing it regularly, you're sort of educating your viewers on what a team game looks like as well. Because again, a lot of the newer viewers are probably not very familiar with the dynamics of team, so that might be something to look out for. I'm very, very excited about that. So thank you for doing it, first of all, and for sharing it.
I haven't done anything yet. Maybe I'm just lying.
Yeah. Let's not do it too soon. Yeah.
Thank me after. Hopefully I can do it. I hope I can pull through, but I don't want to get people overexcited. But
too late.
I hope it lands.
Too late, bro. Too late. Now we're all excited. All right, Hera, listen, this was as fun as always. Thank you so much for taking the time. Great seeing you. Again, congratulations on your victory. And we'll see each other soon. Again, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you very much. Shout out to the viewers.
And if you guys enjoyed the podcast, you know what you have to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and, share it with your friends. If you have friends who do like to watch Age of Empires 2 and are interested in the professional scene, let us know that we exist and that we're out here producing good content. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.